We are back now with journalist Howard Blum talking about Bryan Kohberger and why Howard believes now, having seen the crime scene photos and done some other investigation, that Bryan Kohberger may have had an accomplice. And more than that Bryan Kohberger may have been the accomplice to someone else. Now, Howard, one of the most interesting things that you raise in your piece positing this possibility is you harken back to the moment Kohberger was taken into custody. And one of the few public statements that he made on the record about this case, and the very first question he asked the investigators when he was arrested.
Yes. On the night of Kohberger's arrest in his parents' house in Pennsylvania, he's put up in zip ties. His parents and one of his sisters are put in zip ties by the police. He's taken out to a state trooper's car. He's put in the back seat. And the first thing he says to the state trooper is, "Was anyone else arrested?" And at the time, no one really paid too much attention to this. We thought he was being the dutiful son concerned about his parents or his sister. But now, in retrospect, when you look at all the other aspects of the case, when you look at what occurred that night, whether one man could have done it, this question, has a more ominous echo. Was anyone else arrested? It raises the possibility that someone else is out there right now. And we go to the...
It really is an odd question when you think about it. If Kohberger, we know he committed the crime, but let's assume if he had done it totally by himself with no accomplice, why would that be the first question you asked investigators?
It certainly is a troubling one. And there's more evidence that makes this question even eerier. On the knife sheath, which we know has Kohberger's DNA on it, a little bit of touch DNA on the button snap. That was a cornerstone of the state's case against him. But there now is, according to the documents that have been released, there's unknown Y DNA on it, a speck of that. Y DNA is male DNA. They say in the documents that they ran it against Kohberger. They ran it against other males who had been in the house and been suspects, and they could not identify it. What they didn't...
Wait, on the knife sheath?
Yes, on the knife sheath, this bit of DNA. What they didn't do is compare this little speck. Maybe it's too small. I don't know why they didn't do this, but they didn't compare it to the blood samples they had found previously, which they never investigated, on the handrail and on a glove outside. Sometimes you don't ask questions because you don't want to know the answers. When I was, talking to people in law enforcement about this theory, many people didn't want to talk, but one person who's very knowledgeable about the case wound up telling me, said, "Look, this case is all wrapped up. We wanted it to go away, and now it's going away, and we're not going to poke into it anymore. But there's a lot of things that we don't know and will never know." The question is, do the Idaho state taxpayers, do the public, do the families want to leave those questions hanging out there?
Right. I mean, if it's true, there's another vicious serial killer roaming free. So it seems worth a question or two. We have now come to understand, per People magazine, that the defense had hired a forensic criminologist named Dr. Brent Tarvey, who was going to testify for the defense if this case had gone to trial. And this guy, now obviously he's hired by the defense to try to get Bryan Kohberger off the hook, so we take it with a serious grain of salt, but he is raising in this draft testimony that People got its hands on some similar questions. And here are a few of them as outlined by the magazine. They say that he argued that one killer could not have contained, for example, both Ethan Chapin and his girlfriend, Xana Kernodle, or render the two different types of lethal force used on Kaylee Gonsalves, because we know the killer killed Kaylee and Madison first, we believe, on the third floor, and Kaylee fought for her life, and Kaylee had a broken nose and many injuries about the face, which we were told were defensive wounds, as she definitely tried to fight him. And it was Kaylee's injuries that led the authorities at the presser after the plea to say, we believed he used a weapon other than a knife. And people were like, what? He said, there's two weapons. That was the first we heard. And then he kind of hedged a little, saying, we can't say for sure. Maybe, there was speculation, was it the butt of the knife? But it seemed to be some sort of blunt forced object to beat Kaylee. Forgive me, these are disturbing details, Howard.
I mean, these are questions that are raised and that they didn't follow up on. And I find that, from the moment they tore down the murder house, they wanted this case just to disappear. So many people involved in the case have just wanted to move on. The original police chief couldn't wait to quit his job and move on. The original judge couldn't wait to retire. They tear down, again, the murder house, as I said, and then they're able, just over a course of a single weekend, after 3 years nearly of legal wrangling, to just settle things without demanding an allocution, without trying to say, we want the answers. They say, well, Kohberger would never tell us the truth. Well, either he will tell you where the murder weapon is, or he won't. It's pretty cut and dry to ask that question and get a clear answer. He will be able to tell you how he knew the young women involved, or he didn't. Why they did this, I don't understand.
They had cards to play and they refused to play them. I want to go back to this guy, Dr. Brent Tarvey, because he's raising other good questions along the lines of yours. I mentioned, so we're looking at the injuries on Kaylee, who we now know because they've released the number of stab wounds each victim received. Kaylee received 38. Xana, poor Xana, she was the one who was awake, received more than 67 stab wounds. Madison Mogen, 28. And Ethan Chapin, 17. And he was asking questions about how could Ethan have been killed with Xana. Like he said, it is not reasonable to think that Ethan would have remained in his bed after waking up or being awake while Xana was being attacked in front of him. This evidence and context begin to suggest the existence of a second attacker. Ethan and Xana appear to have been attacked at the same time, so it's inconsistent with the state's theory that these crimes were committed solely by one individual. But Howard, isn't it possible that Bryan Kohberger could have attacked Ethan first, killed him, and then killed Xana? Because you would think he would take out the man before, going after the woman.
It's possible, but the way it's been reconstructed now and the way I understand the events is that Xana was literally going up the stairs because she heard the commotion in the third floor bedroom, and then she was going down and Kohberger chased her and then immobilized her. Then he dealt with Ethan, and then she was killed. That's the way it's been explained to me. But also, Ethan is 6'4". He was a big guy. He was a basketball star in high school, an athlete. It's sort of hard to believe. Also, the house was dark. There are two different floors. There's a long staircase. It takes time to move around. How all this could happen, and by one person, I just don't see it.
Could have been wearing a headlamp. I don't know. He wasn't seen. With the witness who saw him, the roommate Dylan who saw him, did not say he had a headlamp on. However,
she said she had some device, like maybe a vacuum cleaner. She said at one point. But let's go back to these two surviving witnesses. They're victims too. They went. This is horrible for them, and yet at the same time, there's a lot we don't know, a lot we don't understand that raises troubling questions, and it's exacerbated by the fact that when we read the interviews, they keep on changing their story. There's no coherent, consistent storyline through all their interviews with the authorities. And
well, one of the questions is where are the bloody footprints? I guess there were not a ton of bloody footprints all over these pictures or the murder scene, Howard. And the question is, who cleaned them up? Or like, let's say Bryan Kohberger was wearing head to toe covering, including booties. Well, those booties would have made footprints. They wouldn't have had treads on them, but they would have made bloody footprints. And if he took off the booties immediately after the murders, he would have had to step through blood. There was so much blood. So either way, there should be bloody footprints. And this is, again, one of the things this Brent Tarvey was pointing out. There's an absence of bloody footwear patterns at the scene in general.
It's a very important question. There's this 8-hour gap between the Kohberger or the assassin being spotted by Dylan Mortensen, and then they're calling the police. The house during that period looks very much as if it were cleaned up. The blood, the footprints, it's not there. If you look at the picture of the knife sheath on the bed, it looks like it's been arranged. Did the police do that? Or was it done by someone else? These are questions that I think should be answered. And I think the defense could have raised this issue of an accomplice, but again, they settled. Why did Kohberger settle so quickly? What was he trying to protect? Did he have enough of a relationship with someone that he would want to protect them? Again,
well, they'd know if he had a relationship with somebody. That would be all over his phone. There'd be eyewitnesses to that. We'd know if he were dating somebody or communicating with somebody.
We do know he was sort of dating with someone. He did have I spoke with her, someone involved a foreign student involved in the program at WSU in the criminal justice program, and you know. It was known in certain circles. They would say, "Oh, she has a Kohberger." That's how they sort of made fun of her at the time, or mocked her. That was her boyfriend. And there's more we're learning about Kohberger. The question is, he cleaned his phone. I think one theory would be that he wants to have the last laugh. Why did he settle? He knew he was doomed, but this is this one secret he can hold on to that will give him strength to survive, because he knows something that we don't know. And why the prosecution did not press to get these issues resolved, to get answers, is something that I still find troubling.
It is. I mean, when you think about it, it's the thing that troubled everybody from the beginning. And we didn't know that there were 150 total stab wounds in the beginning. We just knew that 4 people were killed in a very short time. But it's down to about 9 minutes. 150 stab wounds. It's not gunshot. It's stabbing somebody, stabbing for somebody's over the course of 9 minutes, from different room to struggles. At least 2 fought for their lives. That would have gone on. And again, the absence of some bloody evidence that we would have expected. Yeah, I mean, these really are very good questions. And then his question, was anyone else arrested? But we're never going to know, right? Unless he gives an interview to that criminologist, Dr. Catherine Rumler from his undergrad program.
Right, or he writes a book, or he talks,
everything
his
up.
sister decides to write a book, which is perhaps happening, or maybe something will come out. I don't think conspiracies can be buried forever, but we're still looking into other old conspiracies that have lingered for generations. So I'm going to poke around a bit more into it. I'm getting some leads to follow. Maybe they're dead ends, but I think it's important to raise these hypotheses. I mean, the search for truth is the search for greater theories, and I'm looking at new theories.
Very important. Correction, Catherine Ramsland. Catherine Rumler is the general counsel, or she's high up at Goldman Sachs now, but she used to be a Jeffrey Epstein advisor, which she doesn't want us to talk about now. But you were, madam. You're all over the documents. And I heard you myself on audio tapes advising him. So deal with that. Okay. Now there's a report out that Bryan Kohberger may be getting transferred. The prison's denying it, but there are some sources saying, trust us, it's true, from this Idaho prison where he's been sentenced because he's been so utterly difficult, Howard. He complains regularly about the food, about his treatment from the other prisoners. They try to keep him up all night. They threaten him with sexual assault. I mean, I think it's called being a prisoner. But he's so annoying to the prison staff that they reportedly want to get rid of him and ship him off to anybody who will take him. Again, the prison on the record is denying that that's happening, but Fox News had, it was Daily Mail, an interview with a source who went on the record saying, it's true, trust me, I'd bet millions of dollars on it. Or was it Fox? Yeah, it was Fox, a guy named McDonough, who says he has solid information from a prison insider and that the move could take place in about a month. I'd put $2 million on it, he told Fox News Digital. So what do you make of that report? Do you believe it?
I certainly don't know anything about the credibility of that specific report. I do know a bit about Kohberger's personality and character. All his time at Washington State University was time of constant complaining. That's all he did. When I spoke with the people who were close to the girlfriend or the friend. She wasn't a romantic girlfriend. She was a friend who maybe wanted to have a romance with him, but he was friendly with. It was one of constant complaining, constant bickering. That is part of his personality. Even his friends in Pennsylvania talked about that. So that would seem to fit his character. But again, I don't know anything at all about the specific being transferred. I don't know anything about that.
Okay. Well, this guy McDonough is a retired homicide detective who is a source for the Daily Mail on this, and he's saying he's got it. So we'll see if he gets transferred from this prison to another. It's one of those things, Howard, like be careful what you wish for, because a prison that says, we'll take him, we don't mind all that complaining, is probably not going to be a great one. A new year means new financial goals, like making sure your savings are secure and diversified. Will this be the year you decide to talk to someone from Birch Gold Group? They use an educational approach with a deep understanding of macroeconomics. There are forces pushing the dollar lower and gold higher, which is why they believe every American should own physical gold. So until January 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, just text MK to the number 989898. Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you are still eligible for a rebate of up to $10,000. Consider making right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy by January 30th. Text MK to the number 989898. Claim your eligibility today. Again, just text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.